You are now entering the LuxCore Studios. And you've secured a seat for the Protecting Your Radius podcast. Here, we build connections from your contracting profession to some of the top bleeding edge products and services. Don't get deterred. Let's not delay. Here is your host, Nathan Downs.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Protecting Your Radius podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Downs, and on today's episode, we have Matt Chiaradonna from the Boston, Massachusetts part of America. He is coming on today to talk about a new program he has spent tons of time, tons of effort, tons of energy, tons of resources on Elite Technique and the CRM platform that may change how every fence company does stuff out there. So, hey, without further ado, Matt, welcome, buddy.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on today.
Absolutely, man. So I want to get right into it, man. Brass tacks. I always talk about that. We're ready to go. So tell us about Elite Technique. Tell us a little bit about your background, your fence experience and everything, and then how you got into creating your own CRM platform.
Sure, absolutely. So it's a family-owned and operated fence business. It was started in 1972. My grandfather started the company, followed by my father. I got into it in diapers, right? I mean, probably like the rest of the people out there, I got pictures of me wearing some Huggies and some cut-down diggers digging holes. So I've sort of been in this whole process forever. When I graduated high school, I knew that the fence life was for me, and I was going to purchase the company. At the time, my grandfather was in ownership. My father had passed away and was out of the picture. So I was 18, 19 years old. I bought my grandfather's half of the business, and there was my mom and I. That was around 2007. So I've been running the company since 2007. The primary focus was obviously growing the fence business. I was trying to learn standard operating procedures, trying to improve efficiencies across the board. And through that, we built a company that somewhat, I guess, cliche ran itself, right? So I wasn't as needed in the day-to-day. I was no longer looking at jobs. I was no longer installing. I had my team in place and they were running the company. But now I could really focus on improving efficiencies, getting away from paper. I've always been interested in fence. It's my whole entire life. And I knew that there were softwares out there. I had played around in some of them and could see how amazing they were and how they were changing the game. I mean, they're still out there. We all know their names, and they really revolutionized the way that people could do work, that could run their business. What I really wanted to do was create something that mimicked my standard operating procedures, but also would give everybody, I won't say all inclusive, but basically instead of having to have 3 or 4 different softwares that integrate into one, I wanted to make something that was all of those things in one place that I could use without having to jump from place to place. And so that's what got me into this process. So I joined a group. It's called the Entrepreneurs Organization. It's got nothing to do with fence, but it's a networking, right? Just like the rest of us, I want to network, learn from smarter people than myself. And there's a lot of them out there. And just through my network, I was talking about my good and bad times and explaining how I was getting away from paper and my process. And one of the guys was like, why don't you make that into a software? And I said, well, that's because I dig holes for a living and I don't know how to write software.
Right.
And he was like, no, it's okay. And he walked me through it. He happens to own a software development company, and I'm kind of a risk-taking guy. And I was like, all right, you know what? Fine, let's do it. And the rest was history. So now, a little over a year later, here we sit, and I can talk to you about what I've been working on.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So one-stop shop, eliminating the need for 7,000 different apps. It feels like all the time, right? We're all running around with all these different nuanced things. So let's get right into it, man, because I'm super excited. I heard you talking about it a week or two ago on the Fence Industry podcast with Dan Wheeler. And immediately, I think I texted you right after it dropped. I was like, dude, we have to do this. So for everyone listening, if you want to see this, come to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/radius_podcast, or get on YouTube, Protecting Your Radius podcast. You can see exactly everything we're going with. But with that said, let's do a screen share, bud, and start getting into the meat and potatoes here.
Yeah, let me bring this up for you and we will share the screen. So we're as we load here, going to be already logged into the software. Just like any other software, when you go to the website, elitetechnique.com, you're going to be prompted to log in with your username and password. And let me know when you can see the screen. I clicked share, so we're just loading up here.
There you go, buddy.
Clear. All right. So we'll break this down and try to make it as simple as possible, and then I'll let you complicate it with as many questions and critiques as you want. So the first and basic principle of this is what we have as a CRM. I've created a standard workflow so that you don't have to create a new workflow for every single person. And as you can see across the screen here, that workflow begins in open leads. So somebody emails you, they go through your website for a contact, they might stop into your warehouse and ask some questions, they might just call and ask some questions. You create them as an open lead. In order to do that, I'll kind of just show you. Pretty simple. You click that open lead and you click create. I'd ask you today, how would you like to volunteer to be an open opportunity? You don't have to give me your information personally, but would you give me your work email and your work address?
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have to. All right. So
okay. Yeah,
this is how you set up a new opportunity. You're Nathan Downs.
Yep.
We can put in our expected revenue. Every company is different, but our average sale for a job is around 4,300. So we put that in.
Cool.
Every company's got a different probability of landing, but we landed about 43%. And we're going to create you as a new customer right now.
Okay.
And we can get a little bit deeper into that. And now that you are a customer, we're going to use you as an individual, like you're a regular retail customer.
Okay.
Give me any address that you want. Doesn't have to be any real address, but an address that we can look at.
Yeah, we could do the shop. So 14716 South Grant Street.
And what city?
That's Bixby, Bixby, Oklahoma.
And the zip?
74008.
Okay. And what is the best email to talk to you at Protect My Radius podcast?
Yeah. So info at protectingyourradius.com. And anybody that has any questions always can use that email to contact us about anything on the show.
All right. So we are set up and we have the ability here to, and again, this is going to get into more detail, but I'm just going to show you briefly. So you want to run some checks later, like what jobs did I look at in what city? You can tag this like it's the city of Peabody. It's a repair job. It's for, I don't know, vinyl fence. So you can start to begin the process of labeling this so that later you can run reports to find out how many open leads you got that were this, how many you landed, developed, etc. So
nice.
We save you as a contact, and there you are. So just to go through the nature of it, we're going to go back to our CRM. Sometimes it takes a couple of seconds, but you're going to pop into our CRM as an open lead. And as you can see, we're loading up right here. And I'll take the opportunity to get a drink. We got a bunch of snow today, so our Wi-Fi is on a little bit of a. I just stopped sharing, didn't I?
Yeah, it popped off
back
there.
Up for it.
I was going to say, for those that aren't watching the video yet, Matt's got his beanie, his Carhartt beanie, his bibs, hoodie, shirt, all the stuff.
Look at me. We had some shoveling today.
Short sleeve.
Yeah, living the dream. Well, I'll be down there very shortly.
So. Except it's freaking cold today, so I am freezing right now.
So I didn't save it. So see, this is me messing up already on you. I got to save you in here after I make you as a contact. So you should already be in here as a customer already. Okay. So because we made you as a contact, you pop up right here. You're saved as a contact. Now I just need to save you as an open lead, which was my little mistake there. But everybody that's watching, we're in now, right? So we're back to our CRM. And if I saved you, which I think that I did, you see how that just popped up as an open lead right there?
Yep.
All right. So that's how the storage is. So all your open leads will stay there. They'll always stay there. And so long as you're an open lead, that's where you live. We integrate with Outlook because that's the calendar that we use and the email that we use. But you don't have to integrate out with any calendars because this has its own calendar. In order to set up an appointment with you, Nathan, we would look into our calendar. Mm-hmm. Let's look at tomorrow as an example. Friday the 24th, and we can set you up as an appointment at 4 p.m. We can edit that. You can see it carries all the information over, right? So you don't have any more inputting to do, but it does give you an opportunity to put some more tags in there if you want to. You can set some reminders for however long before the appointment that you want, all that fun stuff. So we save you, and you can see that you pop up right in there on my calendar. And again, this is a little bit slow process. It takes a little bit to load, but shortly you'll move from open lead into a scheduled appointment, okay? So eventually that will go to 0. Scheduled appointment will pop up as 17, and that's how you move through our workflow. So now you can see all the scheduled appointments at that time.
Does it automatically
Next
move,
thing,
Matt, does it
Yep.
automatically move people from one to the other? Like when you schedule a time for your open lead, it automatically moves them over to schedule appointment?
Yep, that's correct. It's not like snap your fingers and like 3 seconds later that it does it,
Yeah.
but it does automate for you so that you don't have to move them through the workflow. But if you want to cheat because you're like, this is stupid, I don't want to wait anymore. You see this button right here, scheduled appointment?
Yep.
If I click that, it'll just do it now.
It'll
If I don't click it, then it will just take like, sometimes 2 minutes, sometimes 3 minutes.
Yeah, whatever.
When it pushes you over to scheduled appointment, that's where you live until you go into an appointment. We have gotten to the point where we don't have 1 or 2 people looking at jobs. We have multiple people looking at jobs. And it's pretty annoying when a week after the job got looked at, the customer called and is like, "Where's my quote?" And we're like, "Well, we looked at it on such and such a day. Our rule is 24 hours from looking at a job to quote. You should have it right now." And they're like, "Well, we don't." If a job gets looked at and 24 hours goes by that a quote hasn't been sent out, they'll automatically move from the scheduled appointment over to the proposals outstanding, so that the office has the ability to see anybody who's been seen but didn't get a quote yet, so that you can keep up with that backtrack.
That's cool.
Let's say that we went to your home, we're looking at your job, and today's the day we're going to look at your job. So I'll walk you quickly through the CRM last couple of steps, which is that once I look at your job and I send you a proposal, you slide from scheduled appointment into proposals. You can see here that this month we have 58 proposals. When I send a proposal, I send it and I'll show you that. That's kind of stage 2, which is our drawing tool and our bill of materials module. Once I've sent the quote out, you'll pop into proposals. The customer will get an email that's sent from your email that's on file with the software, and they will be asked to make a password. It gives them the ability to log into the software with very limited access. When they log in, they're going to be able to see any open proposals, and they're going to be able to confirm and give digital signature for the job. And if you use QuickBooks, because we integrate with QuickBooks, you can send them a payment link to take direct payment so that it will automatically update payment. And if you want to, you can integrate in your credit card processing company into the software so that you can take payment directly. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine too. If you're getting checks, if you're getting cash, or if you want to take a telephone call, when it's in proposals, the customer can confirm or you can confirm. And once it's been confirmed, it moves into contracts. So that's our preset workflow from an open lead to a scheduled appointment to a proposal to a contract. So that's the way that the CRM works. The last part of the CRM, which everybody knows does, is email marketing. So you can see I'm highlighting email marketing here. This is where we would be able to create any mailings that we want. So we have open leads and we want to send an email to every one of our open leads 5 days after the open lead. We create a template. We send an email to every one of them that, "Hey, you opened a lead with us 5 days ago. We're just wondering where you're at in the process. Would you like to reach out and set an appointment?" You can do that in any imaginary way that you want. If it's for proposals, you can do it for proposals. If it's for contracts, you can do it for contracts. So we have a full email marketing tool in here that allows you to get as funky as you want with setting up preset emails to go out to customers. So I would say that that's our CRM process. That's the stage 1 CRM, right? All right.
Perfect.
So next step is our drawing tool. This is for our estimators in the field. So we get to the job or we're on our way to the job. If we would like to get directions to your address, which will take me 30 something hours of driving right now, we can click get directions. And if we're on our phone, it will give us the ability to navigate to your website, to your home, right? To your work.
Yep.
If we're on a tablet, whatever. So no more like getting out of your calendar and typing it into the GPS. You just click it and off you go. And if you don't want to do that, if you're just looking to create a proposal for them because you're already there, you hit create proposal. It's going to bring you to the area. ideally this is where you're at, right?
Yep.
So we're going to be given a couple of different options for viewing. We're going to be able to look at this in grayscale, which is what we're looking at in. We're going to be able to look at it in street scale. A lot of the drawings that I do in my early stages of using this is in street scale. I like the way that the numbers are on the buildings. I like the way that there aren't any trees, rocks, ledge, things to impede my view. But sometimes I need to like find something that's in the yard that I remember from when I was there. So it gives me the ability to view it in satellite view. And man, I am so envious of the way that you guys live, because if this was our area, it would be covered in trees and rocks, but yours is nice and open. So this is the next step, which is that we're going to be either on site with the customer with a tablet.
Yep.
We're going to have taken our notes and we're going to bring it back to our office and sit in the comfort of our own office. And we're going to have the ability now to take our measurements and draw up our quote. So I'll show you how that works. This top box is how we select our product. Let's use a simple one like wood. Okay. I guess maybe I shouldn't do wood because us New Englanders are really weird and our wood is weird. So we'll use vinyl. Vinyl's pretty universal, right?
There you go.
So I've chosen vinyl as my product, and now I have the ability to draw in my lines. I'm going to fence in your backyard, right? Okay. You've got a big backyard, so it's going to be a big one. I'm going to start at your corner. I'm going to bring it out to what I think is your property line, and you have the ability to adjust this however you want. So if you measured an exact amount, you can make it that. Let's call it 74 feet. Take it to the end. Man, you got a big backyard, buddy. All right, and we'll take it all the way down just for sake of argument, and we'll bring it back in. You click on that last box, it closes your line, right? So we just drew out the linear footage. You can see that it's got the measurements, and if you had measurements, you'd be double checking them. And if you're doing this as a virtual appointment over the phone, at least you're getting pretty close. So that's the drawing module. You have the ability to, and again, I don't want to go into like terrible depths until you're ready for me to, but just because you drew vinyl doesn't mean you can't draw something else. You want to draw aluminum in there? Fine, draw aluminum in there. We can just draw aluminum enclosure around this if we want to. This will complicate our bill of materials and make a longer explanation, but you get the gist. We can draw in as many different styles into one quote as we want to. We're not limited to just one.
Nice.
From there, I'll show you just a quick run through of like what all this is. And I'll also caveat that with, depending on which version of my software that you use, all of this can be interchangeable. So I'll give you a preloaded version with all the prices, all the material lists, all the labor lists, this whole entire thing, the way that I show it to you right now for you to use and make minor changes, or I'll give it to you completely blank for you to be able to make anything that you want with. Obviously, that comes with more work for you, right? You got to contact me, tell me what you want to change. My programming team changes it customizable to you, or you take it my way. So let's say we want to add a gate, right? Usually in vinyl, we're either adding a walk gate or a double gate. So we'll put both in here for the sake of the argument. Let's put a walk gate in on this side, and it's our first line that we drew. You can swing it so that you can adjust it for swings in and swings out. Around here, our pool code states that gates have to swing out, so you may need to swing one way or the other. Double gate, let's throw a double gate in the back. You know, you want access to this big wide open field here. You need to be able to get back there. So we're going to do that one and swing that one in too. And again, to not put too much onus on these things, just so that you know, this is a freehand drawing tool. So let's make believe that you hate your GPS view because there's trees everywhere, but you still want to be able to show that there's a structure here. You can draw in a freestanding shed. You know, you could draw in a pool, you could draw in a patio. You can draw anything you want. Sometimes there's existing fence in the line, and you're not going to take it down and get rid of it. So you need to draw up to it. You can use that to connotate your existing fence so it doesn't count towards your drawing measurements. House box, again, pretty common sense stuff. These are just like little ways to be able to put extra shapes in that you want to. I showed you the gates. This is for us, right? So we have electric. We got to deal with electric lines. Well, I want to mark that. I don't want my guys going out there blind. I need to know that the electric comes in off the street here. Okay. Maybe I want to put where on your house your electric outlet is. Same thing with all of these. So I'll pause here for a moment. Gas lines come in. We have to call DigSafe. I want to mark that for my guys. I don't want them going out there blind. Sprinkler heads. I mean, we all deal with that, right? We go out there. We don't know where the sprinkler heads are. The guys throw the digging bar in the ground, break it. Now they want us to fix it. Right. All of these are just different ways to be able to mark things that we want to talk about. From there, again, here we are. I know some people, the way that they build wood, every panel is custom build. They come out with knockdown pickets or boards and rails and they build it. Here we buy pre-built panels. So if I'm going to custom build something, or say you're doing vinyl and you're going down this massive grade and the panel can't take it, you got to custom build it. I have the ability to mark where I want those custom builds so my crew knows. Finish side, again, wood, right? One side's the good, one side showing rail. I want to show finish side out. We drew vinyl, so it's irrelevant, but drill existing poles, put steps into the run. Again, draw a rock or a ledge. Well, here in New England and New Hampshire, we have quite a bit of rock. We want to be able to just put that stuff in. So pretty simple stuff. Again, I know I'm going more in depth than I need to, but that's customizable. Great. And what you want to put in, you can. Last but not least is our text box. We get that, like, I want to go 15 feet off the house to the gate. Or I could put center the gates, or I could put, there's a giant rock here, or I could put the customer, whatever. The point is you can add as many of these text boxes anywhere you want for your crew and for your customer to be able to see. This is just a little edit thing. It gets super like fancy, like the equalizer, Mr. Fence equalizer. I want to know the equal distance between all of this. I can just keep on clicking my poles if I want to. And every time I click it, it's going to tell me what the footage is between each one of these, right? That way, if I really want to do it, I can. No big deal, not even important, but just showing you like different things you can do. You can drag and drop and move and edit. And once you're done, you hit save. Okay, so that's the simplicity of the drawing, right? We're just picking our styles, drawing it, getting our linear footage. Next step is that we need to create a proposal for our customer. So we're going to save our drawing.
I got a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Ask away.
So what mapping platform does the back end of that use? Is that Bing?
We're using Google Maps.
Okay, Google.
Yep, we have an open API key with Google Maps, and so everything that you see here is back-ending into Google Maps.
Okay, so my question is, if that's Google Maps, then when you're putting the address in the CRM and you're using that address, is that automatically taking me on my phone to Google Maps to get to the directions, GPS and stuff?
It takes you to, so like say for example, I do it on my phone. It doesn't even take me to Google Maps. It takes me to, I have an iPhone.
Yep.
You know that little map app?
Yep.
That's like already
Apple
preloaded?
Maps? Yeah.
Mine takes me to that.
Okay.
For some reason.
Okay.
Yep, it takes me to that. So the true answer is that based on the device that you're using, I'm not sure where it would take you.
Yep.
It just probably, like for me on my Apple iPhone, when I hit go to directions, it takes me to that default map that my phone is using.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
My CRM, the reason I ask is my CRM does, it actually pops up when you hit the address. It says, do you want to use Apple Maps, Waze, or Google Maps? Because I use all three of those, right? Yeah. So just wondering who really cares? I mean, it really doesn't matter, but I was wondering because since this is using Google Maps, that kind of takes me a step back to the scheduling side. So for the schedule end of it, did you say on here that it's Outlook based? Is it?
So the software itself has its own calendar platform.
Okay.
And you could put any email that you want for your username. So it's an excellent question. When you get your own instance, so let's call one of these software programs an instance, you will create a username and a password for each of your users.
Okay.
And you can break your company hierarchy down into all the different departments that you want. And when you make a username, it can have any email that you want. Gmail, Apple, whatever you want. If you want it to integrate with a outside calendar, then it has to be Outlook. Okay. But if you just want to send emails through the software and have it come from any email, then you're just using the software. If you want to use a outside calendar, it has to be Outlook. Otherwise, you just use the calendar that's the software that the software is giving you. So instead of logging into my Google Calendar, I just log into the software and get the directions from there and follow my calendar from there. So basically at the moment, you can use the software for all of your calendar needs. As long as you have an email attached to it, you can email out of your normal email, receive emails out of your normal email, and you don't need to integrate. But because I used Outlook, I set it up for Outlook.
Okay.
If you were to use the version of my software that was a blanket open version, then you could spend the money to integrate any email that you wanted that had an open API key.
Okay, got it. So if you wanted to use the platform, your platform, Matt, and we're looking at doing like, is that a two-way communication between Outlook and the CRM? Like, is it
Yeah.
going back and forth?
As soon as I make an appointment in
Okay.
Outlook, it updates my CRM.
Yep.
As soon as I make an appointment in my CRM, it updates my Outlook calendar. It sends me approvals, and it sends the customers approvals when an appointment is scheduled. So, like, for example, I'm one of the people looking at jobs right now. When we create the meeting, the customer, regardless of their email, gets an invite, just like you sent me today. And when it's accepted, it comes back to my email because it's integrated, telling me customer so and so accepted and is ready for the appointment. If you weren't integrated, then you would just have to see that it was accepted through the software versus getting it in your email app on your phone.
For over 30 years, Southwest Automated Security has been the premier provider of gate operators, access controls, CCTV, and so much more. Visit southwestautomated.com today, taking dealers to the next level.
Okay, so does that mean that the CRM is there ever any triggers that send things outside of the platform not being Outlook? And then my follow-up to that is, because it sounds like no, but my follow-up to that is, does the CRM show me that I have a response back? Like, is there a notifications area or something that populates that?
Yeah.
So like for someone like me,
Yep.
I don't use Outlook and I'm kind of like anti-Microsoft anymore. Like, so, what does that look like, bud?
So if you look up here on this top right corner, you're going to get a whole list of messages that come through. So you can talk with a customer through the software without any email. You can email back and forth, and you also get alerts like today's meeting, Alexis Pagliarni, Beth Solomita, the leads and opportunities. It will come right through this that they accepted the email. So you don't need to be connected to anything to see that it happens. The other thing is let me show you like an open proposal for somebody that I already did a job for. These are ones that I sent out today, and you'll be able to track on the proposal forever every single thing that ever happened with the project. So all the way back to where my sales order was created, to when I started the proposal, to when I made changes to the proposal, to when I added the pictures of the estimate that I looked at, to when I sent the proposal, to when the customer got their email with the tags, to when the customer on their own confirmed that they wanted to move forward with us, to when they viewed it. So like they can't say, no, I didn't view it. So everything that happens from when you create the open lead to when you create the meeting, you have this never-ending activity log that's inside of the software to tell you everything that happens from point A to point B. So you don't need to even use an outside source other than to have an email address for emails to go to and come from. But you could forget about calendars and forget about communications if you wanted to, because the software would do everything except for be your email service.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Hey, when you were mentioning communication, what is that like, communication with the customer in there? What platform is that using? Is that sending that out as a email from the system? Is it texting them?
No, they're actually logged into our. So remember, I was mentioning to you that when we send them the appointment, it prompts them to put a password in. And if they're interested in making a password, their email and their password creates them a user, just like my estimator, just like my installer, just like my, and when they have that, they have very limited access to join. And we can send messages to the customer, send pictures to the customer. We can also log notes that the customer does not see that is only going to be for our internal communications. So like these pictures and these things, the customer can't see that. That's just for our eyes. But if we want to talk with the customer through the software, we can. If they want to talk to us, they can.
That's cool. So everything's web-based?
Everything is web-based, but you can use tablet. Phone is good for your installers. You make a username for your installers and you want them to see the bill of material. You want them to see the drawing. You might even want them to see the invoice so that they can collect the balance at the end of the job. It's fine on your phone to log in, go to the contract, click the customer, and open up pictures, open up all that stuff. But what I don't recommend is trying to make an estimate on your phone with the Google Earth image, because it's a pain in the butt because it's too small. We can use iPad, we can use Microsoft Surface tablets, or you can use your, regular computer or laptop for drawing. You could draw on the phone if you wanted to. I am being honest, I don't think that it's like efficient. It's just too small of a screen to be able to see a whole backyard and do it accurately.
So when you're in the drawing phase, wait, I'm hopping all over the place here. But we're going through the drawing, and let's say I draw it out on the mat. It's the same problem that we have. We utilize and implement the My Salesman here in our shop, right? And so often we'll say, we'll walk people through the process. Hey, if you want a budget price, kind of get a magnitude of cost, let's walk through this and do that. Well, I have so many people that they'll draw and they'll like overdraw, like it's not even close to their property lines. Now, you and I utilize technology every day. So we know that ain't your property line. Like you're 20 feet off. So we need to move it. So not moving it on the drawing per se, but if I drew a line and it's 94 feet, but I'm like I'm actually on site and it's 100 feet, do I, like on the drawing, do I just drag the endpoints, or how does that work within the drawing feature? Do you have a field that lets you manipulate?
Excellent question. So once you've drawn a drawing, it's going to lock it in as a proposal. You don't have to ever use that proposal again, but if you want to redraw the drawing, you start over again and you redo a fresh drawing with the accurate amounts. You can deactivate the old one if you want. You can delete the old one if you want, but it won't ever allow you to change the original drawing, because once you change it, and the reason why, which I can show you if you want, is so like we did your drawing, right?
Yep.
And this was your drawing. Once I did your drawing and I saved it, it gave me the ability to do all the work for pricing it. And if you change the drawing, then it would have to change all of this. And since it has to change all of this, it's asking you to just start over and redo the drawing. And so that is the simple answer to your question. If you went and did a budgetary over the phone and then went out there and realized, no, those numbers are wrong, you would just start over and redraw it with the accurate numbers so that this breakdown is accurate when we save the drawing and move forward.
Okay. So let me ask you this. What if I draw the drawing and we're looking at my drawing, customer calls back the next day and is like, I really like the proposal, Matt, that Nathan gave me, but I really want to add 2 double gates, one to the south side and one to the north side.
Sure, you can do that. Okay. So let's just use for an example your job, right? So here's our fence design. We're going to review and edit the fence design. We want to add 2 gates, so we're going to go back to our gates. We're going to do them in vinyl, and we're going to bring one on the north side, assuming that that's the north side, and we're going to add another one to the south side. We'll save them. We'll save that happened, and now your drawing is updated. And when you go to choose your materials, you may need to just add in the amount of gates, right? So because I told you when you did that first drawing, it automatically told you that you needed 1 double gate and 1 single gate. The drawing is now updated for that single gate and double gate, but the program had already done the math out to tell you what you needed when you chose the materials the first time. But what you do is, and I'll show you, is you just add it, and I'm going to double check it to make sure that it didn't do it for me, because it may have. Nope, it didn't. So what you do is you just add a product, and we're going to add a vinyl double gate. And we'll choose what we want. White, 6 foot high, 8 foot wide, 12 foot wide, whatever we want. Single drop rod, double drop rod, whatever we want. Yep. And that is how you would add it in if somebody added something the next day. So you review and edit your drawing. You add in the changes that you want to make. But then because you've already saved it, but to save the time of redrawing the whole damn thing, it treats like QuickBooks. If you use QuickBooks, just add a product line, put it in. The prices are already preloaded. The widths and heights are already there to choose from. And so that's how it would allow you to make a quick update without having to redraw a whole drawing.
Gotcha. So what if now I called back and said, oh man, I know I had you had both, but I forgot that they were $950, or I didn't notice that. But I only want the one on the north added.
Yep.
So you need to take one of those.
So now you hit the trash can. She's gone from the price, and you'll go back to your fence design, review and edit your fence design, and back to our trash can. I'm sorry, back to our edit can here. And we would just get rid of that gate. Now, this will be my first time doing this, so let's see if we can do it. Yeah, so we'll have to work on that. Once you've added this into the drawing, again, it's like, all right, you're putting all this nonsense into the drawing. It's not giving us layers to edit because we've already saved this drawing as a drawing. So at the moment, it won't let me get rid of that. I can't trash can that. It's off the price. Right. It's on the drawing.
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we'd have to redraw it from, right.
Yeah, you'd either have to redraw it or you would have to be like, customer decided to remove this gate. Now that's a very simple way of doing it. Obviously, the answer is that I need to talk to my developers and give myself an ability to, oh, hang on. Maybe it will let me. No, it's only going to let me do the new stuff that I did, right? So I just added something new and it will let me erase my words, but it's not going to let me erase what I did before because that's locked and loaded and solid as a rock. So I'll have to talk to them to get the ability to do that if that becomes a serious thing. But in the moment, the only way you could do it is get the price correct with a simple adjustment and then put a note on there that the customer, opted to remove their gates.
I've never seen anyone do this, Matt, but one thing that I know, you coming from the manufacturing background, when I was in the using JD Edwards a long time ago, but that's a DOS-based product, like terminal prompting. But one thing the system did that I always found was really super helpful was it would create sequence numbers from the beginning, so you could see the generational changes over time. So if JC Fence called me and I'm putting in your information, I give you a quote, you call back and you make an alteration. Well, now it becomes whatever quote number that is -1. And then you call back again. And the whole time we're negotiating or you're working out in the field, we could make sequence changes. So where we may end up selling, sequence 7, but I had in the program, I had the changes over time. So instead of changing like hard line, like in the drawing scenario, I would wonder if it's even possible where it's, collecting that data. And then instead of making it where you can't ever change it again, it just like you duplicate it, but it knows that it's in a sequence or something. That would be pretty cool because no one does that from what I've seen.
Yeah. One of my notes in my notebook. So as you can imagine, I'm super new to it. I'm learning, but I'm figuring out things that I want to change, right? Yeah. So one of the things that I want is pretty much an exact replica of what you said. And we'll be working on that as we move forward. Nice. I want to be able to replicate the drawing and then use it to create a new quote, right? So we already did the drawing. I want to have the ability to render lines different. So if I did the drawing and the measurements are all done, but I chose vinyl, but now the guy wants wood, I want to copy the drawing and then just click render and then render vinyl over to wood so that I don't have to redraw the whole drawing again. So it's 100% on my radar. And, I'm not a programmer, so I shouldn't say it is or isn't possible, but everything I've ever asked them to do, 24 hours later, they're doing it.
They make it fly.
So I'm not promising that will be a guaranteed change one day, but it is literally in my notebook next to me, exactly what you're talking about. I want to be able to do that.
Yeah. And everybody, Matt, I mentioned before we started the podcast today this is our first, you're our first CRM. Now we have many more CRMs planned to have on the show and go through their processes and stuff. But that being said, none of these are perfect, but we're always evolving and it's always changing. And we're finding out like we're talking about here, absolutely, the nuanced things. So especially with yours platform. And I know as we kind of go on time here, your rollout of the whole thing so far is a little bit different. Tell me what the plans are with that, bud.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm rolling it out in 2 different ways right now. So the first way is, I suppose, geared towards New England mostly, and only because of the way that we do wood. So I didn't get a chance to show you after the drawing, the magic of how the tool works, but it has rules built into it so that once we choose the styles, it does how many panels you need, how many line poles you need, how many post caps, bags of cement, tells you how many hinges, latches, drop rods. It also does all of your labor for you, right? So that's very uniform across the world, except for wood. But anyways, I'm rolling it out in one way where you'll get my software. What I'm showing you right now, you will get. So every single thing that's loaded into my software will come to you, and you'll have the ability to get all of my updates. So I mentioned I'm going to continue to improve the technology. Once a month, when I improve the technology, you'll get a little notification. These things are changing this month. You'll get that notification, and I'll update the technology for you as we go. The other thing that I'll do, for at least it will be super helpful for the New England area, is I'm going to give you my prices. I don't really care, right? We're an open book here. We're trying to help everybody. I can't promise that I'll make you profitable, but what I can do is take a pickup truck who picks up the phone, makes his own appointments, looks at his jobs, installs his jobs, and still tries to get home to pick his kids up. I don't need him putting things into the software because that takes forever. I just want to give him a preset. There won't be any customers, there won't be any employees, but every single thing else that you can imagine will be in there. He'll also get my updates and prices. So if the market goes up 20% this month, all my prices are going to go up 20%. His are going to update with it. If my labor goes up, his are going to go up. He'll have the ability, I shouldn't say they will have the ability to make any edits to the prices that they want, right? Because I can't promise profitability with my prices, but I can give you a blanket platform that's already preset so that you can log in as Nathan Downs at Radius, Protect My Radius podcast, and all you have to do is open the lead, enter the contact, and then go look at the job. The panels will be in, the posts will be in, the prices will be in. So that's rollout one. The other rollout is made more for, I guess I would say, a larger company, not a one pickup, not a two pickup, a guy who's working on his company and not in his company. I will open that up for less per month, but give them the ability to make it their own. So they'll get the technology that does the drawing, that does the breakdowns to panels, poles, lines, etc., but it won't have a preset material list. It won't have a preset labor list. It won't have preset work flows. They'll have the ability to input their own titles of panels, their own price for panels, and they can pretty much create it on their own. The beautiful thing about that end is that because we have our own programmers, let's say that you don't like that I divide my panels up by 8 feet and that I charge by panel. You do 6-inch board 17 times over 8 feet. So you want to change the law to say every time I measure out 8 feet, I want it to give me 3 rails and 17 boards. If you have your own instance, then for a cost, we can program it so that that's your law, right? So that's the beauty of that version, but it comes with a lot of work. The beauty of the other version is it comes with no work, but you're living in the laws that I created, which are 8-foot panels for vinyl, for wood, 10-foot bays for chain link. So those are the 2 rollouts at the moment. And we're already kind of taking customers, but in a super limited basis between those 2 versions right now.
Gotcha. No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Show us the takeoff thing right here before we wrap up this first go round. Because there's still so many things that we could get into.
Oh, we're not even brushing the surface.
We haven't even. Guess we got to do a part 2.
It does so many more things that we haven't even talked about, from employees to QuickBooks integration. So this integrates with QuickBooks, and this is super important. So I'll just touch on it real quick.
That was going to be my big question. Yeah. Go ahead.
The customer can confirm this. We can enter in payments. We can create invoices. And once an invoice is created, most of us now at this point that are talking about software know that someone has to go into QuickBooks and they have to make an invoice so that is going to go for our accounting, right? So if we're using a software and we're making a quote for them, we did work. And then we have to find out that work was committed to and then go to QuickBooks and input it. I integrate with QuickBooks. So if I made an invoice, I export my invoice from the software into QuickBooks and I make the invoice automatically. So no double dipping, right? So we'll go through this real quick. I just wanted to mention that we did integrate with QuickBooks because I feel like that's super important. So this is our vinyl fence. You have a massive backyard, 1,273 feet. We have all the options preloaded in. So this is rollout 1. Everybody gets my stuff. Heights of panels and my styles of panels. Again, I do things in numbers because words get crazy, but you could edit this. I call a number 100 a privacy panel. You want to call it a privacy panel? Hit edit, change it to privacy panel, and then instead of design saying 100, it says privacy panel. No big deal.
Okay.
I told you before the show, we cannot automatically know that a corner exists, but we can say that it's a white privacy panel, that it's 9 foot tall, that it's a 6 foot drill pole, and for your job, you have 4 corners. You got a million gates, but then you changed your gates and then added some gates and then removed them again. But we got a bunch of end poles, so they're white, they're 9 foot tall, they're for that panel, and they're for 6 foot drill. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 if you end up canceling the gate that you wanted to cancel. So we have 6 end poles. We have no blanks, and our line poles are also white, 9 foot, privacy 100, 6 foot drill. We do not have to do the quantity because the laws will tell us how many line poles we need. Everybody needs a post cap for their vinyl. We're going to go with white. We have all of our styles. Again, I'm repetitive, but just because I call it a New England doesn't mean you have to. You can call it a pyramid. You can call it whatever you want. And even in my rollout where I give you the price and the name, you just edit it and change it to whatever you want. But at least you don't have to input it and create the category.
Yeah.
Again, hinges and latches, right? So I offer my customers a base hinge and a base latch, but if you offer 5 different hinges, this is where you would click it and choose which latch or which hinge the customer wanted. We screw our vinyl together based off of how many rails there are. It'll do the math for you there. Double gate. We had a double gate. We want it to be 6 foot high. We have a custom width. We have an 8 foot width, a 12 foot width, a 10 foot width. If we were going to do a custom, you would have used that text box and you would have probably written in that it was a will call or that it was an exact size. And that's how you would do it. You can also edit this. So once again, we're on a QuickBooks backend, right? So because we're on a QuickBooks backend, this works very much like a QuickBooks estimate. So just because this says vinyl single gate 100 white 6x4, I can change it to whatever I want. It doesn't matter. And when I change it, the bill of materials will accept that change and the customer will see that change. We put a bunch of aluminum on there, so we have to go through the process of making sure that we chose the correct aluminum. You probably notice on here that some things are red. The reason why they're red is because you can't put up a fence without sections of fence. So it's prompting you to choose the section of fence or you can't move forward. You can't put up a fence without line poles. We're not going to let you move forward until you pick line poles. Caps, size of post, you're getting the gist of it. So we're walking our way through everything that we need. And if we've put that it's red, it must be done. Anything that isn't red does not need to be done. You can see we've made everything not red, right?
Yep.
The next step is to hit estimate bill of materials and then, oh, my bad. So this is something pretty cool. You guys don't need to use it if you don't want to. We have a checklist. So this is for our customer. This is mumbo jumbo. What's the type of terrain? Flat, grade, ledge, trees, rocks. Is there water and electricity available on site? This is customizable too. You don't have to have what I have, but this will show the customer and show your install team. Are there pins? We use pins if there's ledge, right? Are we removing the old fence or is the customer? Are we disposing of the old fence or is the customer? Do the gates open in or out? So this is for our installers and for the customers to have a checklist. Yep. You can't move forward from this process unless you've decided that you don't need a checklist or you do. So that was that command that it yelled at me when I hit estimate bill of materials.
Okay.
When we hit estimate bill of materials, it does all the work for us. So you notice that before there weren't any panel numbers. It did the math out by our law of 8 feet and told us that there was 158 panels at $185 a piece. And you've got one of the most expensive yards to fence in around. It's $29,000 for your panels. Because we set in how many corners and ends, it told us how many lines. It automatically tells us how many post caps, how many bags of concrete. It told us how many hinges and latches we needed, how many drop rods we needed. Aluminum, same deal. We just did the math out, how many panels, how many lines, how many caps, the whole 9 yards, everything is done for you. And when you do that at the same time, it also flips you over to labor and it will do your labor for you too. So this is our labor worksheet. There was 159 poles, so it's charging 159 times. And remember I said I'm rolling it out in 2 ways. I fully understand that not everybody charges their labor the way that I do. We charge by every task that is completed. But this is a workflow for labor that I created. You can create your own if you have your own version of this that talks to the labor and the materials the way that you want it to. So if you say that every 8 feet is equal to 2 guys at 1 man hour and 2 man hours and you charge by man hours, you would not want my version. You would want a blanket version, and we would make yours say 16 feet is 2 man hours. You understand the concept, but it would do the math for you so that you're not doing it. So it broke our labor down for us. Okay. Couple of other little cool things is just like special notes. So in here for us, this is where we're talking to our guys and the customer. Customer has a dog. Fence must be on ground. All these little things. Legend area. Customer has concrete. Customer has patio, sprinklers, all that fun stuff. When you put those notes in, they'll save. So that's how, from the drawing to the price, you get to those steps. And I'm going to do this for your sake, all right? So when you're done, you save it. And after you save it, you send it to the customer. Remember I said my email is logged into here. So I'll show you what the customer sees. This is what the customer gets. It's a breakdown of how many panels, the cost, the materials, the tax, the labor. If you added takedown and removal, how much that cost, the total of the job. It shows the full drawing that we did together, and it shows our breakdown with our terms and conditions. So this is what goes to the customer. Nice. It saves in the software for you to go back and see at any time. But now, if your email is on your phone, give it a couple of seconds, and you're going to get an email notification. It's going to do those things I told you. It's going to prompt you to make a password. It's going to see if you want to do that. And if you do, you're going to be able to get into the software as my customer, and you're going to be able to confirm this thing if you want to move forward. You're going to be able to message me and talk with me once you confirm it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. No big deal. Just click the PDF and open up the quote and call me on the phone and give me your money, and we'll move forward with your $96,000 fence job, and life is good. So that is the whole process of like the drawing right through to the proposal and where it goes. And I see you're playing on your phone there, but what I'll show you is that you are now in proposals as the very top one. So you can see how that works for my CRM, and the listeners can see too. I just sent you it. It says the status is proposal sent, so everybody knows that the proposal was not only made, but it was sent. There's nothing to invoice at the moment because they haven't confirmed it, and we're sitting there living pretty. Yep, there you go. So that's the way that it works. And now the customer has the ability to confirm, and so on and so forth. Yeah. You see my pretty little JC Fence logo up there at the top. If it was, any other company, we would preload your logo right into there so that way your stuff is in there. Again, I am not even scratching the surface of all the things that I could tell you that this thing does. There's so many templates that you can add to these proposals.
Right on there. So, hey, one question I had as we're going through this. Does QuickBooks, you mentioned the QuickBooks integration. Is that like QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Enterprise?
QuickBooks Online. Very good question. Yep, it's QuickBooks Online. So as long as you have QuickBooks Online, it will integrate in. You notice here on the left-hand side, the second little button down. So like I said, we haven't even scratched the surface. You can see there's a whole bunch of tools all down here, and every one of those serves their purpose. This is our QuickBooks information. And in the QuickBooks Live mode, we can import from QuickBooks. We can also export to QuickBooks.
Nice.
And let's say that we want to export our invoices. I'm not going to do it right now because I just made you a quote, and it will put a fake quote into my actual QuickBooks. I'm actually using this module for my everyday. So we're literally running the software. The software is running our business right now. I'm like my own test module for this. But
love it.
Yeah, you would just hit export invoice, and you could choose between an individual invoice or all the invoices. And then you just send it over, and it integrates right in. You can test the connection. Connection established. So we know that we're connected, and then you would just hit the export invoice, and it's throwing me an invalid one right now. But basically from there, it just takes out the options. You can choose all, you can choose one, and you just ship them right over. But usually I just do all of them because it doesn't matter if it already sent one over. It already recognizes it as the SO number, and it just, and it adds everything new as it goes. You can export customers. You can export. Some of these things actually don't work. So vendors, purchases, and bills, they're here. So again, this is like me showing you. I should have told you we're an MVP. Phase 2 gets all this stuff in the loop. When we set up our products, we have the ability to set up if it's inventory, We have the ability to set up, if it's an ordered item, we have the ability to set up our vendor that we choose to buy it from and how much we pay. Once you would confirm your order, it would sort through the items on the bill of material, and it would determine what is in stock, and it would determine what needs to be ordered. And then it would separate them for you. It would make for you, recognize that name right there?
Actually, I can't see it. Dan Wheeler?
Oh.
Willie Boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
can see
guy?
it.
He's been using the software. So see that this is red. It's not available.
So you're testing it. You're testing it with little fence companies. I got you.
Little guys. Yeah. That everybody. But yeah, definitely the little guys.
I was just saying that's everybody. Guys. Yeah, let's see.
It's like my goal in life to help the little guys stop using notebooks. Absolutely. Get rid of pieces of paper. Have their leads on the site be able to see everything they need from their phone. Imagine that. They don't need to crunkle pieces of paper up and throw it on the dashboard or lose it underneath their feet. That's my goal in life, man. The reason I made this software, honest to God, was we sell wholesale. And since I was 7 years old, I probably watched 500 companies fail. Wow. Looking at jobs in a notebook, writing down drawings in a notebook, making their bill of materials off the top of their head in the office. Like, come on, man, really? I don't know if I'm going to this one next. Or no, maybe nope, not that one. Yeah. That's who I want to help. I want to give the guy in the field the ability to pick the cell phone up after he's done digging holes, open up a lead and save them as a lead, make them an appointment from the field, and never forget that they made the appointment because they wrote it down on the wrong page in the notebook, because it will set a reminder for them. Then if they don't make an proposal, it will yell at them and tell them that they did. Right. It will have all their proposals in one place. It will have all their contracts in one place. So I did make it for the little guy. I really did. I mean, it works for me. I'm not little. I'm not big. Yeah. But the little guy's the guy who I'm trying to help.
Absolutely. And that's the crux of everything. I mean, that's what we're trying to do with the podcast and bringing on platforms like yours. But I think that's the thing that we need to get to as a profession, with understanding, like where fences, where gates, where all these different things are going now, is having these tools like these CRMs. It's vital to not only legitimize what you're doing out there in the marketplace, but also, Matt, just to like keep the simple things from happening that we've all failed at, right? Like I forgot to do a proposal. I didn't show up to an appointment. I've done all these things too, man. And that's why I harp on this. That's why I got into the podcasting stuff, because I was like, there are things out there that make our lives easier, that make you everything more efficient. And I was just tired. I just turned 40 years old. I'm tired of wasting time, man. I'm just tired as a contractor. I'm just tired of like, and I've done a pretty good job over the years, but I just know that there's room for improvement. There's so much more we could all do together. And man, this is awesome. We will definitely have you on for a part 2 here, bud, because I know for a fact we did not even get into it, but this is a great start to show what you're doing, where you're going with the platform for everyone to see it, since no one's seen it yet. That being said, we're just coming out of Fence Tech as we're, going through this presentation and stuff like that. How do you want everyone that watches this or listens to it, how do you want them to reach out to you, to ask questions, et cetera, et cetera?
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for the plug for that. So you can find me on Instagram at Elite Technique LLC. You can find me on Instagram at JC Fence North Shore. My email is matt@jcfencenorthshore.com. So there's 3 avenues that I'm constantly active on, constantly willing to talk to and answer questions. I'm willing to do demos just like this with anybody who is interested in learning more and trying out the software. I make, everybody knows who Dan Wheeler is. I made Dan his own login and his own password, and I created him test users, and I created himself as a test user so that he could make his own quotes, so he could do his own bills of material. I am happy to do that with anybody at any time. So that's the best way. Reach out to me through Instagram or email, talk to me, and I will gladly set up time to show you it on Zoom or show you it over a telephone call where you're actually logged in and playing with it.
Awesome. Matt, I appreciate you coming on again. And for those that don't know, going back in the annals of time in this short journey of podcasts and the fencing space and stuff like that, Mr. Chiaradonna had Saturdays. What was it? Breakfast with Matt or something like that?
Yeah. Dan invented Breakfast with Matt on Saturdays. Yeah.
Yeah. So if any of you haven't checked any of those out over time, Matt is obviously a very intelligent contractor. He's been around for a long time. He's a big self-improvement guy. And he had shared a lot of nuggets over a period of time doing that as Dan Wheeler was starting the Fence Industry Podcast and being partnered up with that. So I'll give you a little plug on that, Matt, that everybody should go out and check that stuff out. It was a lot of fun over time, but now you got bigger and better projects like what we're doing here with Elite Technique. And we thank you so much for coming on today. As always, if anybody has questions, email us out at info@protectingyourradius.com. We would be happy to field those. Again, many more CRMs coming, but this is a fence CRM made by a fence guy. There's something to be said about that going forward, and we will definitely have you back, buddy, to get even more in the weeds on the back end. So appreciate you, bud.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
You've been listening to the Protecting Your Radius podcast from the LuxCore Studios in Bixby, Oklahoma. Thanks for sticking around, and connect with us and all of our partners at www.protectingyourradius.com. We want to thank our premier partners. LuxCore, the newest line of premium quality composite infill to slide into your FenceTrack fence system. Frame your style today. Also, StainTrack, the world's first patented standalone stain machine. Utilizing flood coat technology, StainTrack covers boards, pickets, posts, and any type of dimensional wood you can think of. And what better way to use your StainTrack machine than to use the easy application Wood Defender family of stains. Wood Defender goes on easy and covers in one coat with no backbrushing. And of course, the true power of our show is you, the listener. Please rate and review our show on whatever platform you consume this content. Your 5-star likes and reviews help other contractors get the message that we all want to be better and do better. And in the construction world, we can never forget that before you can be great, you've got to be good. Before you can be good, you've got to be bad. But before you can even be bad, you've got to try.